Hello? Hi. Yes, I'm looking for Ed. Yes, this is Phil's daughter. Thank you. Hi, Ed. This is Phil's daughter. Yes. Well, this is a little awkward, but my mother and I wanted to reach out to his friends personally. I'm afraid I have some bad news. Yes, he passed away yesterday. A brain trauma. 3 brain contusions. Yes. Oh, he was in a coma for about 30 days. Yeah. Excuse me? I don't understand. What was he wearing? A Tommy Bahama shirt and a pair of boxer shorts. Why? The memorial is on September 5th.
He fell off a ladder while pruning trees. The pool guy came over. And pushed him. He was knocked out, so the pool guy freaked out and left. He was wearing heels in the garage and slipped. He was climbing the ladder to wash windows in heels. He was hit on the head by the butt of a gun. He was hit in the head by a shovel. The ladder fell on his head. He slipped and fell on the slick, painted garage floor. He hit his head on the trunk hood while pulling his makeup bag out of the trunk of the car.
Isn't it just easier if we don't ask people how they're really doing? I mean, isn't it just easier if we don't ask open-ended questions? Isn't it easier just to receive a single word response like, good, great, wonderful? Isn't it just easier to avoid difficult conversations? Let's not ask the hard questions. Let's not ask the open-ended questions. Let's make sure that we get a simple, single word response. Ugh, it is so much nicer to talk about pleasantries. So much nicer to talk about pleasantries. I mean, let's not talk about relationships. Let's not talk about feelings. Let's talk about external things, shall we? Like politics, but just the black and white perspectives and assumptions. Let's make sure that we keep things binary. Heaven forbid we talk about what lives in between. Oh, it's so much easier. I mean, I was raised to believe that there's only right and there's only wrong. You're either good or you're bad. You're either smart or you're stupid. You're either gay or you're straight. Heaven forbid being gay. You're either male or you're female, and you either believe in Jesus or you don't believe in Jesus. And if you don't believe in Jesus, well, you don't belong here. Oh, it's so much easier when things look really good on the outside, because then you don't have to really worry about what's going on the inside. I mean, if my lawn looks good, then everything must be good. You were still searching for your own identity. You were cross-dressing behind closed doors. You were gambling away family money behind closed doors. You were making deals behind closed doors. You were suffering from post-traumatic stress from being a Marine. You enlisted to escape. You did all the right things. You got married. You had a family. But you suffered the entire time. You suffered for years and years in quiet because nobody ever asked you the hard question, the open-ended question, and meant it. You weren't allowed to talk about the hard shit. You weren't allowed to talk about your feelings. You weren't allowed to talk about relationships. You weren't allowed to talk about how you had no desire to have sex with your wife, but she was really aesthetically pleasing to look at, and she looked great with the house. But what would it have felt like if you had just allowed yourself to get just a little bit uncomfortable, and to just share a little bit at a time? What might that have felt like? What would that have looked like to get a little messy, a little raw, a little unclear, and then to be looked back at by loving, compassionate eyes by your own offspring? What might that have looked like? What decisions might you have made that would have been different? Nothing further.
Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, a condition of persistent mental and emotional stress occurring as a result of injury or severe psychological shock, typically involving disturbance of sleep and consistent vivid recall of the experience, with dulled responses to others and to the outside world.
The oldest was never told that he had PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Is it a disorder? Her mother didn't know until 13 years into their marriage. The children were forced to live with it. Oftentimes, he would come home, and the first thing that he would do was clean, and clean, and clean. There are pictures of him holding a dustbuster, cleaning up little pieces of dirt and fabric and lint from the floor. He often complained about the fucking pets. They shed. And then he got sick. And he needed surgery because of the Agent Orange. But it was a normal surgery, routine. But the outcome was not. He was never the same after that. They say it was the anesthesia that triggered the PTSD because of his time in Vietnam. He would come home and he would vacuum almost every day, and he would do the laundry. He did women's tasks, not necessarily men's work, but he presented as a man's man. He needed to control these things. She thought that she had married the man that worked at the embassy gates. But he had secrets that she knew nothing about. He would vacuum into the children's bedrooms at 8:30 a.m. on a Saturday morning to wake them up. And then they would clean and clean and clean, and then he would do the white glove treatment. Pick up from white glove treatment. The kids were never allowed to have anything on the floor that didn't belong there. When the kids grew older, his patience grew thinner. And he started to have flashbacks, horrible flashbacks. It was obvious that he had seen more than just working the embassy gates. And the mother was never explicit with the children about what was going on. She was trying to maintain that image that was reflected on the outside. The oldest was about 11 or 12 when he started to have these flashbacks. She remembers her mother always saying, "Don't get a rise out of your father when he comes home. Don't get a rise out of your father when he comes home." She would say, trying to keep the peace. The youngest was born with cognitive disabilities. He would lock himself in his bedroom. He was quiet. He had no idea what was going on. He still doesn't. Nothing further. Woody. Hi. Yes. He did pass away. Yesterday. We don't know. We still think... We think it was an accident. Well, one surgeon said that he was hit on the head on purpose, and another one says that he probably just fell. A suicide? No. No, I have not read that article. No, I was not aware I was not aware that statistic was that high among men with PTSD. Mm-mm. I don't think so. Yes, I did call the police. They did do an investigation. They don't know. I'm sure you have a lot of stories. Yes, I look forward to hearing them sometime. Yes, on September 5th.
First interview with the deceased's spouse. After deceased was admitted to the hospital in an unresponsive state, it was discovered that Philip had sustained a life-threatening brain injury. His wife could not determine how the injury occurred. Dr. Yusbaum relayed to the wife that it could have been sustained from a fall or a blow to the head with an unknown object. Nothing further. The deceased's wife relayed that on the morning of 11/11, she and Philip had breakfast together at or around 0700. At that time, he seemed to be his normal self. She left the house for work at or around 0745 hours. Philip was dressed and had finished his breakfast. The wife worked at the Gavilan Peak Elementary School as a teacher, and Philip worked from home. She tried to call Philip twice during the day between the hours of 14:30 and 1500. Philip didn't answer the telephone either time. She returned home from work about 1600 hours and found Philip lying on their bed in the master bedroom, curled up, holding his stomach. He felt cold and clammy and was moaning. Philip told her that he had the flu and to leave him alone. She left the master bedroom and went to the family room, where she discovered a decorative bowl on the coffee table filled with black-colored vomit. At that point, she called the John C. Lincoln Urgent Care Center. She was unable to get Philip to the hospital on her own. She called 911. Fire department personnel are called at 16:33 hours and arrived on the scene 16:41 hours. Philip was transferred to the John C. Lincoln Deer Valley Hospital by fire personnel. Philip received an emergency brain surgery. Following the surgery, Philip was in a coma for which he never awoke. Nothing further.
Are you 55 plus and looking for a safe, clean, and predictable community to live your best life? Well, look no further and welcome to Anthem, a master-planned community. Choose from 3 of our distinct gated communities. Live Parkside, the Country Club, or in the Villa. Everything looks the same, and we like it that way. Anthem is an unincorporated master-planned community in north central Maricopa County. It was founded by Del Webb in 1999 and initially built out in 2008. A new development recently added 202 homes to the community. Anthem is called a master-planned community because it is self-contained and self-sustaining, allowing residents to share common resources and contribute to the common good of the community and region.
Del Webb's design philosophy can be seen in every detail of Anthem's design plan, from the width of the streets to the type of landscaping options, higher number of recreational amenities to preset purposes of commercial plazas.
I could see him through the window. I could see his profile. I could see that he was sitting on the corner of what looked like a bed. He leaned forward, he grabbed a joint, and he lifted it to his lips, and he inhaled, and then he held it, and then he blew it out. And then he lifted his leg like a dancer about to put on her nylons, and that's exactly what he did. He put on his nylons. I started to feel guilty peeking into his private space, but I was intrigued. So I stayed, and I watched him as he slipped on a pair of black fishnet thigh highs from the tip top of his toe to his ankle, to his calf, to the middle of his thigh. He put his leg down, he lifted up his joint again, and he held it to his lips, and he inhaled it, and then he held it, and then he blew it out and lifted the other leg to slip on the second pair of black fishnet thigh highs from the tip top of the toe to the ankle, to the calf, to the middle of the thigh. He stood up and started walking towards the window, and for a second I thought he saw me peeking into his private space. But he was putting on his shoes, his red pumps. And as I watched as he stood there, trying to hold his balance while he slipped on his shoes, I was intrigued. And then he looked over to the right, where I assume there was a window, and I watched him as he brushed his hands from his chest down to his sides of his waist and around his hips, like a woman. He loved what he saw. He was happy with what he saw. He started to walk towards the mirror and would pivot back and forth like a runway model. He picked up his joint one last time, and he held it to his lips. And he inhaled, and then he held it, and then he blew it out as he looked through the window. Busted. Shades drawn. Nothing further. It's perfect. The neighborhood is perfect. It's safe. The schools are good. Oh, and you should see my master bedroom. We absolutely adore our neighbors. And Karen's a stay-at-home mom, and Jim works for a pharmaceutical company. He is a wonderful provider. We just had to leave the city. Too many rodents, if you know what I mean. Monday? Why, I would love to come. What should I bring? An accident? How? Just lying there? Why does it matter what he was wearing? It's perfect. The neighborhood is perfect. It's safe. Oh, the schools are good. You should see my master bedroom. Oh, we absolutely adore the neighbors. Karen's a stay-at-home mom, and Jim works for a pharmaceutical company. Oh, he's a wonderful provider. Oh, we absolutely love the church. The pastor is divine. Pie. I make a terrific apple pie. Oh, I will bring it on Monday. By EMS. Where? Just lying there. His abdomen? It's perfect. The neighborhood is perfect. It's safe. The schools are good. You should see the view from my window. Oh, what's his name? The gentleman from the block over? Is it Ed? Is that right? Oh, and his wife Jackie. Is that correct? The ones with grown children? Oh, well, I see him walking by every morning for his morning stroll at 6:30 a.m. like clockwork. Must be nice. Oh, we absolutely adore our neighbors. Karen's a stay-at-home mom, and Jim works for a pharmaceutical company. He is a wonderful provider. Oh, he just got that new car. Now watch, my husband will want one. Oh, yes. Yes, I will be there on Monday, and I will bring the pie. Of course I'll bring the ice cream. See you then. This is the third time you've tried calling. What do you mean confused? Is he answering your questions? Still in the ICU? What do you mean still in the ICU? It's perfect. The neighborhood is perfect. It's safe. The schools are good. Why, yes. We did just get new plantation shutters. Thank you for noticing. Oh, they definitely make the room look larger. Oh, we absolutely adore our neighbors. Oh, Karen's parents are coming to visit, so she has to hide the alcohol. Well, I have the cupboard space, so I volunteered. Yes, she's a stay-at-home mom, and Jim works for a pharmaceutical company. He is a wonderful provider. Yes. Of course I'll bring my apple pie. Yes, I will definitely bring the ice cream. It isn't the same without it. Yesterday. This happened yesterday. Why didn't you call me yesterday? Nothing further. She was a flight attendant. He was a Marine. It was 1969. She was sick, so she went to the embassy gate, to the clinic. He was the Marine that worked the embassy gate. He escorted the flight attendant to the clinic. She was cute. He was charming. He asked her if she would go out on a date with his buddy. He was too insecure to ask for himself. She said yes. So the women met them at the fountain. Her friend was also a flight attendant, also cute, but not to her father. He was excited to see her. She was excited to see him. They talked to each other the entire night. They just kept talking and talking and talking, and eventually the other two just walked away. But they didn't care because they had each other. The flight attendant and the Marine. They wrote to each other for 6 months. Not every day, but most days. She lived in Denver, she lived in Phoenix, she lived in Chicago. He lived in the barracks. He proposed to her by mail. She said yes. They had only seen each other one other time besides that night at the fountain, the one in Rome. Was it the Tivoli? It was the Tivoli. They were happy, the flight attendant and the Marine. They got married on May 15th, 1971. It was a simple wedding at a church with a minister, with some friends, with some family, with some strangers. It was nice. And then they moved in together, and they moved again, and then they conceived their first child, a daughter. And then they moved again, and they conceived their second child, a son. He was no longer a Marine. She was no longer a flight attendant. He was a police officer. And she had been accepted with a full ride scholarship to the local university, but she turned it down so that she could raise the kids and sell coffee from door to door. They were new people. They were happy. They raised their family like all the other families around them were raising their families. They would go to church, they'd go on vacations, they'd go camping. They were a normal family. And then he got sick because of the Agent Orange. It was a normal surgery routine, but the outcome was not. He was never the same after that. They say it was the anesthesia that triggered the PTSD because of his time in Vietnam. She thought that she had married the sweet Marine who had worked the embassy gates. But he had secrets that she knew nothing about. He would become impatient because of the flashbacks, the horrible flashbacks. He would kick the dog, he would throw things. One time he took a metal sprinkler and he smashed it into 100 different little pieces. He eventually got better, but it took time. Nothing further.
the mysteries surrounding her father's death were curious. Who was the whole guy? I mean, did he have a relationship with her father? She was curious about her parents' neighbors, their relationship. Was it even a thing that they stopped being friends with her mother after he passed? They didn't want to be wrapped up in controversy, she suspected. Or were they the swingers they were rumored to be? There was the question of money. His friends kept asking, where's the money? They are convinced they had large amounts of money stashed somewhere. It didn't make sense that her mother was left with nothing. Not in that neighborhood. Then there was the watches. Yeah, that very expensive watch that arrived, that wasn't for him, that didn't make sense. The mystery of the man that called, that phone call, a colleague of her father's, what was he wearing, he asked. They found out her father had 2 cell phones. Was that normal? Why, when they searched his belongings, they found his gun in his underwear drawer at hip level? He never kept his gun unlocked where a kid could get it. She now had a kid. It was not like him. There were the items in the trunk, makeup, dildo, bustier. Were they her father's? Were they his lovers? Were they someone else's? Did he order the high heel shoes? Is it a mystery that her uncle, her father's brother, was a crossdresser? She didn't understand what was going on. She had so many questions.
Always been obsessed with cul-de-sacs. Not sure why, but she found the definition funny. A route or course leading nowhere. Maybe it's because this is how she felt growing up. There's a sense of freedom in the suburbs, she thought. You assume the mask of suburbia for outward appearances, and yet no one knows what you really do, who you really are. In the suburbs, people throw away a lot of clothes, toys, broken toasters, record players. How dare you leave furniture on the front curb, though? She thought, people in the suburbs can't realize that there are poor people in the world. They can't think about the needs of other people. On days like Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, the whole neighborhood comes out to play. Hot dogs, cats, cooking, soccer, ballet. She remembered growing up and visiting very large homes with big vaulted ceilings. They felt like mansions. She noticed there was very little furniture. I stayed home and took care of the kids. Sod or seed. We enjoy having things. We got our dog from a breeder. I'm okay, you're okay is a study of transcendental meditation. I enjoy giving Tupperware parties. Let's have sex in the dark. Doing laundry is death-defying. As soon as you're done, you have to start all over again. I believe organized sports make better citizens of children. I have 4 boys and they all play baseball and soccer. They learn to cooperate with others, and that winning isn't always the most important thing to do. Bourbon at 7. She thought to herself, what does nonconformity look like in the suburbs? We like to play war with real guns and our dogs. We like to play war with our toy guns and our dogs. Washing cars is a great way for kids to make money. We have to move. My husband has been transferred. Vacant land shopping center, now leasing. Once you hit the highway, you can be at any city within 45 minutes.
Hi. It's your favorite cousin. Yeah, he passed away yesterday. I tried calling your dad, but no one would pick up. They still don't know. Yeah. It's good to hear your voice too. Look, I just have a question for you, but if you could just do me a favor and not say anything to my mom about it, because she would be devastated if she knew that I was sharing this with you. Yes, so we just found these items that we think belong to my father, but we're not sure, because he's so conservative. Women's clothing, wigs, shoes, stuff like that. What? My uncle? Your dad? Both of them? Really? Huh. It's perfect. The neighborhood is perfect. It's safe. The schools are good. Yes! We did just do a closet expansion in the master bedroom. I needed more room for my shoes. Yes, we have our children in activities every day after school and on the weekends. It keeps them out of trouble that way. Oh, speaking of trouble, did you hear about the pastor? It's terrible, just terrible. To think that they found those magazines with the nudie pictures on them in his home office. Oh, we absolutely adore our neighbors. Kara's a stay-at-home mom and Jim works for a pharmaceutical company. He's a wonderful provider. Yes. Yes, I will bring the apple pie. Yes, I will also bring the vodka. You bring the olives.
There were the items in the trunk. Makeup. Dildo. Bustier. Were they her father's? Were they his lovers? Were they someone else's? Did he order the high heel shoes? Is it a mystery that her uncle, her father's brother, was a cross-dresser?
It was the recession. Her father could service his own pool. He was struggling to get by. He did not need a pool guy to service the pool. But despite letting go of the pool guy, he kept showing up to their home every week. But not to service the pool, he showed up to bring her father the Wall Street Journal, a paper that he already subscribed to. This was strange to her mother. On the day that her father died, the pool guy used her parents' address to get access to the gate. He hadn't seen her parents in years. Did he bring her father the paper that day? Did he see her father that day? According to the police reports, the pool guy used her parents' address to access the gate at 9:30 a.m. that morning. He serviced 5 pools, but nobody was home at any of those pools. They were either on vacation or the house was vacant. No one saw the pool guy that day. According to the pool guy, when he talked to the police, he said that he hadn't seen her parents in over 2.5 years. That was also strange. It was later found out that the pool guy had used her parents' address 48 times in the 2 years leading up to her father's death. The guards at the gate always let him through. This was also strange. Shortly after her father's death, the pool guy showed up at her parents' house to service their pool. He said that he felt bad, that Phil had died. Her brain kept going back to criminals who returned to the scene of a crime, and then to the pool guy showing up at her parents' house to service their pool. Her mother called him Doug. This was not the name that was listed on the police report. Several years after her father's death, she thought maybe she would look up the pool guy, maybe hire a private investigator or pay for one of those internet services. But she searched the name on the police report on the internet, and she found a man by the same name who lived in Florida. But it was an obituary. Was her father's pool guy dead? Nothing further. When she was 16 years old, she would go to the neighbor's house to work on papers for school because they had a computer with a printer. Her parents were really close friends with the neighbors, and her mom was best friends with Karen. And the 16-year-old would often talk with Karen, and Karen would share things with the 16-year-old that maybe should not have been shared. She shared that her father was paying for prostitutes, and that her mother was furious with him. She shared that her father was gambling money away and just gambled $5,000 on a bet. She didn't know if these things were true. Though her father would uncomfortably joke about her having half-siblings in Vietnam. Was her father still paying for prostitutes? Was he still gambling family money? She knew that most people only tell half-truths, but her father was no longer alive to tell her otherwise. Nothing further.
Hello? Yeah, darling, it's for you. Who is it? Who is it? It's Marcy. What do you want? I don't know what you want. She wants you to pick up the phone. It's on the ground because of you. What's your point? Oh my God.
You're everything I'm you really believe me, Mom?
Yes. Because I'm your son, or you think I'm telling you the truth?
Because I think you're telling the truth.
If I was in your place, I'm not sure I'd believe it.
Someday when you're a parent, maybe you'll see things different.
I wonder if Dad will believe it.
We're getting intelligence test tomorrow at school, and I don't know if I'm gonna pass them.
Oh, Beaver.
Beaver, of course you will. Your father did very well in school. I got a good grade.
She was in her late 20s. She was living in Chicago, and her father was visiting on business. It was nice outside, so they sat on the deck at Navy Pier and they drank margaritas. And she asked him point blank if he had ever cheated on her mother. He said, yes. Once. I mean, she already knew this, the neighbor had told her. It was kind of an open secret. He said, yes. Once on a business trip with a woman at a conference, he said he brought her up to his room, but he couldn't get it up. Those were his words. He couldn't get it up. I mean, not many fathers share that kind of information with their daughters. But he was vulnerable with her. That meant the world to her. Nothing further. When her mother came home, she found a box, a simple Amazon box, sitting on her father's desk. It was addressed to her father, but he was in a coma and in the hospital, so her mother opened the box, and inside of the box was 2 pairs of women's shoes, but they weren't for her. She was a size 6. These were a size 10. Risque. Her mother, the former flight attendant, did not know what to do with this. She did not know what to do with these shoes. She didn't understand. So she took the shoes and she packed them back up. And she left them on the corner of her husband's desk. Nothing further. Shortly after her father passed away, the Allens stopped talking to her mother. Cindy Allen, her mom, stated was a lesbian, though she had no proof of this. Maybe it was just because she was charismatic and independent. Maybe it was because the Allens were secretive. Her mother learned that the Allens had a purple rock in their front yard. She learned that people who have a rock, a purple one in their front yard, were considered swingers. She didn't know if it was true, but she looked it up on the internet, so it must be true. Did her father know that the Allens were swingers? Is this why he was friends with the Allens? Is this why Steve Allen had shaved legs? Her father had so many secrets. Were the Allens a part of his secrets? Nothing further. It isn't perfect. Did you hear about the rock? The purple one? The one in Ed's yard? Well, my husband told me about it. I'm not sure how he found out, but I guess it means when you have a purple rock in your front yard that you're a swinger. I mean, it never made much sense to me. I always thought it was an odd choice. It didn't go well with the landscaping, and I'm surprised that they were not cited by the HOA sooner. Well, they moved. They moved to the Midwest. Jim got a new job. I imagine that Karen is just beside herself. Yes, I did. I painted the garage floor again. There were too many marks on the floor. Yes, I will bring the apple pie. But it will have to be frozen this time. It is the best that I can do. After her father's death, she found out that her father had taken a second mortgage out on the home. He was struggling to get by. And instead of telling her mother, he used the money to buy $15,000 worth of watches. She found out that he would go with the neighbor to look at jewelry and watches at the jewelry store that was located in a strip mall next to the True Burger. It was owned by a Middle Eastern man. This was important in the telling of the story to her mother, but this was not of importance to her. She found out that her mother went to the jewelry store to ask the Middle Eastern man for the money back for the ordered watches after her father's death. She wasn't stupid. The Middle Eastern man was furious and said that Phil hadn't left any money for the ordered watches. The Middle Eastern man asked her to leave. She felt stupid. What other secrets were there that her father wasn't sharing?
The watch thing, buying women's clothes on the internet, secret internet accounts, 2 cell phones, the pool guy who gave him his paper for free, the loaded revolver in the bedroom, the bag in the trunk.
Her mother told her that she received a phone call once. It was something about drugs. And her father dismissed it as a wrong number. Later, she would find drug paraphernalia in the closet. Her mother also found a shovel in the backyard several weeks after the investigation. Her mother was very spooked about this because he was OCD with PTSD and he wouldn't have left anything out. She got a security system installed. She was very spooked. She was fixated on that shovel.
The dressing thing, the revolver, the shoes, the email, the pool guide, the stuff in the trunk, the watches.
Was there a connection between the watches and the cross-dressing? My father was insecure and unsure at heart. who was raised by a mother who was trying to hold something together that was not meant to be held together. Her marriage. She was trying to control the narrative, my father's narrative, causing a disassociation of self and a lack of wholeness. There was abuse. My father felt that he was hated. And his mother, my grandmother, saw this in her husband. She knew this. And so she tried to control the story. There was so much shame. And so now is the time to traverse the space and ask the question, why? Why so much lying and hiding and half-truths? Perhaps my father was not fully being honest about hitting his head or falling off a ladder or the shoes or the clothes. Hiding the secrets of his life, his whole life. People will go to great lengths to conceal their shame. They will go to great lengths to conceal the truth. They will ruin lives over it, including their own. I have struggled my entire life to be present because I was raised by shame, and I know that I'm not alone in this. But here's the truth. Because of what I know now, I feel closer to my father in his death than I did in his life.
You know, the older you got, the older I got, the more we came to understand we really love each other, we really respect one another, and we understand that we can have differences as a daughter and as a father. And I'm happy, and even though we disagree,